hooked up on gravity. Because
as you should be.
Well, since we've talked last, I've been reading a lot about it, and one of the things that confuses me the most is that we don't really understand what gravity is. We know its effects, we can measure them, we know how to measure them, we know what that mass is involved, but we don't really know what gravity is.
There's a similar question in the book, but they got a little more philosophical than you just did. But they both lean philosophical. It's science can describe how gravity works, but can they describe why it works?
Can we?
So this is the how-why duality here. And allow me to just answer it from a how-why point of view, and then we can apply it to gravity after I say that. In science, if we can describe how something works and predict its future behavior, we claim to understand it and we move on. You can ask deeper questions about it. Why is there gravity? What is the meaning? What is the purpose? And go ahead, but I'm good with what I've done, and I can land a spacecraft on Mars inside of a crater in a hole-in-one using my understanding of gravity, so I'm pretty good with it, okay? So I'm not distracted by the more philosophical side of that. Why does it work? Okay. Einstein, so Newton was deeply puzzled by how you can have something called, in which he coined the phrase, action at a distance, okay? He wrote down the equation that worked. He wrote down the equation. The moon goes around the Earth, Earth goes around the sun, the moons of Jupiter go around Jupiter. He accurately described that with his equations of gravity. Okay. He said, one day I think we're going to find some way that they're connecting to each other, but I don't know what that is right now, but I know my equations work. He called it spooky. It was spooky to him. That's his word. Spooky action at a distance. All right. Fast forward 300 years. 300? No. Fast forward 230 years. Get to Albert Einstein. Gravity is the curvature of space and time. And you're moving on the curvature of that fabric. That's gravity. Oh my gosh, is it even a force then? Is it even, so there's no need to think of it as an action at a distance. And in a phrase first uttered by, I think it was John Archibald Wheeler, a student of Einstein. And I learned relativity from John Archibald Wheeler. In fact, that's where I met my wife, in relativity class in graduate school. It's space. So matter tells space how to curve. Space tells matter how to move. It moves along the curvature of space. You don't need an action at a distance. There is no action. It can't do anything else but do that. It's like you have a funnel and you take a ball and you roll it on the funnel. The ball can only do what that funnel tells it to do. And it'll if you give it a sideways motion, it'll start spinning around. There's no magic hand coming in there. It is following the curvature of its space-time continuum, this construct that you provided for it. So now I can describe what gravity is doing. I even have a mechanism for it. Are you going to still ask me, why is there gravity? Is that answer not fulfilling enough to you, even in the why department? You can say, well, why would a particle curve space? You can just keep doing that. That's fine. But is there a point where you'll be satisfied with the answer? Oh, that answers my why. I can say, well, why did this half liter of water drop off the edge here? Well, it's no longer, the forces are imbalanced. And no, but why did it fall? Well, there's nothing holding it up. Why did it? There's a point where it's not especially productive to continue to think about the world that way. Because what I'm claiming is answers to the how, when you understand the how enough, are tantamount to having answered the why question. That's all. That's what I'm telling you.
Tantamount in terms of the ability to measure it and accurately use it.
Correct. So we can say, okay,
but isn't it still
you got a bald
curious?
head. We can say, well, why did you go bald? Well, okay, the hair follicles when you start in your late 20s and when did you go bald? When do you start losing your hair? Probably late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's common. If you have your hair when you're 30, you'll probably have it for the rest of your life. That's how that goes. You start losing it going up till you're 30. So you can say, well, the hair follicle begins to not producing the keratin or whatever. We get the explanation. Then you say, well, why does the hair follicle stop doing that? Then you say, oh, well, because the DNA has it pre-coded about the hair kind of thing. Well, why does the DNA have the hair? Well, because
Right, but we know far more about how and why people go bald than we do about what gravity really is, correct?
I'm telling you, gravity really is the curvature of space and time. That gets us the Big Bang and everything we've ever known and
Curvature of
loved.
space and time, but it's also based on mass, right? It's based on the amount of mass.
Any
an
concentration
object
of
has.
matter and energy or energy will curve the fabric of space and time.
And the more mass,
and
the more
movement
gravity.
of matter on that fabric of space and time, we call gravity. And I'm good with that.
Okay, but you seem a little oddly defensive about something that's scientific.
No, I'm just saying I'm good with the.
But you are, because you're kind of defending it.
No, you can say, well, why does matter?
Why do you need to know why?
No, why
That's what you're saying.
No, I'm saying why does matter and energy curve the fabric of space and time? You can ask that.
Okay, why?
And I don't have an answer for that. I can say,
Well, that's all I'm asking.
well, no. What I'm telling you is,
Okay, you don't need to know why.
I got you to the point.
Right?
We had to walk to that point
Yes.
where your why got unanswered.
I understand that,
But before we got to that point, I answered otherwise.
but I'm not disputing that.
Good. So what I'm telling you is that I can answer your why question most of the time, but then you'll come back to a point where there's the why doesn't have the answer. So you say, why did it fall? And I say there's a force of gravity operating on it. Why did it fall that way? Because of the curvature of space and time. I'm answering your whys.